Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Let's do a quick little sound check and see if we're getting some good sound here. We're excited because we're in our favorite place. I call it Hairdresser Nirvana. We're here at Hair Story Studio in New York City, which is just an incredible place for hairdressers, and we've got an incredible hairdresser joining us today. You guys know him from the hair brand community, Bo Bollinger. He's going to be doing a big makeover here. So we'll talk more, but let's get right into that. I know you're doing a big makeover, so how are we going to get started, Bo?
Okay. Well, normally, for me, at the salon, if I'm going to make a really big change, typically you want to just get some of the hair out of the way.
Yeah, so she's going quite short, so we even have like some pictures here, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fun story, because first Bo thought he would do something like that.
Bit safer.
Bit safer. Then he spent some time talking with Michael and Wes, and they kept progressing. And we're going to something like this. Kelly, you're into short hair today?
Oh my God, I'm so
You
excited.
ready? Yeah, big change. All right. So you're going to be chopping some hair off first to get us started.
Yeah,
huh?
so normally in the salon, I'd probably, after consultation, all that, we would just, probably even while the hair is dry, I'd probably just get in there and cut some of this length off. So I would typically do that with the hair really dry and just kind of hack at it to kind of help you guys with a visual, section the hair out just a little bit so that it doesn't look too messy.
So this, you're just getting rid of the extra because we're going for something really short, a big makeover like this.
Correct.
And you don't want to just spend extra time, so you get rid of all this extra hair. And then are you going to switch to the razor, or are you going to keep going with scissors?
So
Just pre-cutting now, getting rid of extra length.
just getting some hair out of the way. Absolutely.
Right. And Kelly, have you had your hair short before?
In 8th grade, a little
we're
bit,
taking
but
years
never
off
this
today.
short. Like,
Yeah.
this is very short.
So what motivated you to go and have such a big change?
I'm bored with my hair. I get bored with my hair. I like changing it up. I've always dyed it, never really cut it that much, but now's the time.
How did these guys find you for this?
I actually met Megan at a shoot for Rookie, and I was here in January. I had long
what's
red
Rookie?
hair. Rookie magazine.
Oh, cool.
I'll plug it. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah, we like plugs. We like plugs. Plug away. All right, Bo. So again, you're just eliminating all this excess hair, and then you're going to get into your technique.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how did you get involved with Hair Story Studio and Michael and the team here? What's your background?
Sure. Well, I got contacted kind of through social media. Hair Story.
Somebody stalked you?
Yeah, somebody.
You got stalked?
Yeah. So a friend named Aaron kind of put me in contact with Hair Story Studio. I've been a pretty big fan of Michael and kind of what he's done with the industry. So it was needless to say, when I got the phone call from Michael himself, I was sitting on my couch and I had quite a fangirl moment. I think I almost fell off the couch when.
That's pretty awesome. It's awesome when you find out that hair heroes are real people and they really connect. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Incredible. All right, guys. So again, Bo's just getting started here. He's just eliminating all this excess length, and then he's going to get in here and technically take down to a beautiful shape here. We've got a picture of what he's going for. For those of you guys that are just joining us, I think this is a gorgeous image. It's gonna look good on you. Look, can you make that pose? Yeah, excellent. Perfect. So what are you thinking at this point now, Bo?
Well, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do after knock this length off, but I think more importantly what kind of led us here, Michael and I had the chance on Friday to cut some hair together, and I have the tendency to...
Wait a minute, we have to stop for a minute.
Uh-oh.
Your mom is here.
Oh.
Kimberly Bollinger. Hey, Bo, it's Mom and Dad. So proud of you.
Hey,
Mom.
no.
Hey, I'm a big mama's boy, too.
Yeah,
Give us a
me
hug.
too,
Come on.
me too.
Yeah, I'm so proud. That's for you, Mom. That's for you, Kimberly.
Don't cut your finger now.
So back to the
So
haircut.
Michael and I had a chance to cut hair on Friday, and it's interesting because when you cut hair in a space that's not your own, and you're cutting hair in front of somebody that you've looked up to your whole career, in a space with such talented hairdressers, you tend to play it safe a bit. Stick to what you can do well rather than trying to push yourself a little bit further. So on Friday, I did a model with Michael, and after I finished the model, he kind of came in his very Michael way. It was like, it's pretty, it's safe.
So was that kind of this is what we're saying?
This is
was
where the
safe?
conversation went. So this was
Safe.
a safe option today,
Pretty
Pretty.
safe.
right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
which led us to maybe doing something that's not quite as safe, a little bit more impactful.
Get out of the comfort zone a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Right on, right on. So again, just pre-cutting here, getting rid
Nothing
of this
special
extra
here.
hair.
Yep.
But he's done it in an organized way, you know, something you do in the salon. I mean, you could just pull it into a few ponytails, but
Yeah.
I think it just makes it a little bit easier to follow.
Just if like
Yeah.
somebody came in and they were going to donate all their hair off, you know, you section out into a bunch of ponytails and get the
Okay,
length.
so
out of the way.
you still work in the salon, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Ivan.
Is that happening a lot for you still? Are people still coming in with, is it like Locks of Love, I think is one of the most popular ones?
I'm not seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, it was like a trend and then,
It was.
yeah.
Um,
You know, interestingly enough, I don't see that they've taken much advantage of social media. Like, I don't see Locks of Love, I don't know.
that could be an
Yeah,
interesting way
yeah.
to just hack it all off and
Yeah.
use that social media.
All right, so now
All
we're
right.
getting into the haircut.
The haircut.
And again, for those of you just joining us, huge change. You might have seen 10, 15 inches of hair coming off because the end result, we're going for this really cool. How would you describe it in your own words, Belle? What's your feeling on this look?
I mean, this is kind of a bit near pixie length, I would say,
One second here.
with softness around the edges. You know, a bit more length around the edges, so it's not going to be too tailored, if you will. So.
All right, and switching to the razor.
Switching to razor. When I cut with a razor, I tend to not use a lot of clips or anything of that nature. Just keep it simple. And so I'm using a little bit of a horseshoe section here.
Just if I look up.
So just separating basically where the head rounds, getting the top out of the way, and now
Exactly.
you're going to come in.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you're going to take some more of the weight away inside and keep it a little bit longer on the edges.
Exactly.
Gives it a little more like playful action around the edges, something to kind of to style and push around. Really collapsing it in there.
1 second here. Let me just
Looking
try to-
good. So why the razor? I mean, obviously we get this question all the time. You know, what made you choose the razor now at this point over the scissor?
The ability to kind of manipulate texture. So you can work with shape, texture, weight removal, kind of all at the same time. And I don't know, there's an element of diffusion and softness that exists when you cut with the razor that's just really hard to duplicate when you work with shears. I don't solely work with a razor, but it is definitely my tool of choice.
Yeah, I once heard, and we've discussed it before, it's almost like adding that fourth dimension. When
It
you
is.
learn scissor cutting,
Yeah.
you've got, you know, height, width, depth,
Yes.
all the geometrics and the precision. And then when you add the razor, it's like this fourth dimension of texture and weight removal at the same
Right.
time. But you still have to know how to create shape and
Absolutely.
you know, the versatility of shape and over direction and things like that. But the razor's creating space within that shape.
I also kind of think of the shears, even though they're really, really simple, the shears are still a machine, right? You're operating kind of a machine that opens and closes, where the razor tends to almost be an extension of your hands and
Yeah,
fingers.
it's kind of like sketching because
Yeah.
same action,
Yep.
moving your fingers like you're sketching in the hair. I think that's a great way of saying it. That scissor, it is a machine. As soon as you close it, the hair comes
It's
off.
gone.
But the razor, depending on how you rotate it and how much pressure you use, so it's much more like you're sketching. So
Right.
how's the sketch coming along?
Thanks.
Kelly, you're looking great.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
so different.
Change is good, huh?
Yes, I needed it.
Right on. Right on. It's such a big part of our business and such a scary part for so many people.
Can be,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, our whole industry is going through tons of changes, you know, and I think there's a lot of interesting fear happening at the moment. Well, what's your background now? Are you a salon owner? Are you a renter? Are you a commission stylist? What do you do?
Right now, I rent a chair
You
at
run
a
a
salon.
so you're an independent hairdresser.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm an independent hairdresser. I work at a salon called Lark in Dallas.
How long have you been doing that?
I've been working as a hairdresser, cutting hair for about 15 years now.
And how did you get your start?
I got my mom.
Your mom's a hairdresser too.
No, my
Oh.
mom just encouraged me to go
Right
do
on.
it. I've kind of been
You don't hear that very often.
yeah, kind of
Yeah.
weirdly obsessed with hair from
Right
a
on.
young age. So
You were or your mom?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Cool.
I used to, instead of kind of going to the barber shop with dad, I ended up going to the salon with mom. and
Right.
I kind of
Is that where you got your first perm?
yeah, my first
Yeah.
perm. Yeah, absolutely.
They've loosened up nicely though over the years.
Yeah.
That little undulating wave is
Yeah.
just perfect that you have, Bo. Yeah. So you started about 15 years ago. Did you start off as an apprentice or like in a commission salon, or did you go straight? Because it's like a big thing in our industry right now.
Right now.
You
Yeah.
know, who's an independent hairdresser, who's commissioned,
Sure.
which one's better, which one's working. What's your take
So
on
I
it?
started when I started doing hair 15 years ago. There wasn't a lot of independent hairdressers. So I worked in a commission-based salon as an assistant for several years before I was actually living up in Toledo, Ohio. And I worked up there for a while before moving to Dallas. And in Dallas, I ended up working in a commission salon as well for a few years before just kind of realizing that I wanted a bit more freedom. And I think after being a few years in, that you don't really necessarily want to answer to a salon owner all the time. So
You want the flexibility. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing that keeps coming up, you know?
yeah,
So people are looking for more flexibility.
absolutely.
All right, awesome. So we've got people watching from all over the world, which is great. Anye from London. We got somebody from Rome, from Florence, Caterina Mancini. We've got someone from Orlando, Lindsay Nolan. People from Louisiana. They're all saying great. Everyone says you're looking beautiful already. Nice change. Colin Stumbaugh wants to know what kind of razor you're using.
This is the feather plie razor.
Yeah.
It's kind of the
It's kind of the tool of choice for razor cutters.
Yeah.
It's perfectly balanced, and you know, it's the blades are the sharpest thing you can cut hair with.
they're fantastic.
And if you want to try one, we do have them at hairbrain.pro, where we have a little retail business where we sell quality tools. So I know a lot of people see us doing razor cutting all the time here, and that's the feather plie, and you can get that at hairbrain.pro. Again, guys, we'd love your technical questions for Bo. We've got a lot of great hairdressers in the room here. We probably combined, have 100 years of experience in the room here, so we'd love to hear your questions for Bo. People from Scotland. It's a very international. Norway. The international crew is coming in. All right, so recap. We've cut off a lot of hair to get going. You work through technically on one side, now you're moving to the other. So
Yep.
what is it going to be symmetrical?
Symmetrical.
Yep.
I tend to, when I'm kind of talking to hairdressers who are learning with the razor, I'm sure everybody can kind of relate with that that strong side, where you tend to cut really perfectly on one side and then go on the other.
Both sides of mine suck all
yeah,
the time,
okay.
so I don't even go there.
I feel like that gets
The top is good, but the sides.
the side not so much. I feel like that gets exaggerated a bit in the razor when you're learning. So I tend to tell people when they're learning to work on their weak side first.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to match that strong side to the weak side than vice versa, and kind of seesawing back and forth.
So like in a technical breakdown now, you're starting from the front, or your section's a little diagonal?
Yeah,
or
there's slight diagonal
Yeah.
back.
What's the benefit of them being a little diagonal for you?
Just like it's going to be a softer graduation, and it's going to kind of push the hair a little bit backwards away.
It's also
from
a
the
little
face.
bit more comfortable too,
Yep.
isn't it? Than
Yep.
being like totally upright
Totally
and vertical.
Exactly.
Yeah, unless you're cutting something really flat.
Right.
Sometimes have that little curvature, and the head is a sphere,
Right.
right? So curved sections kind of work with that in a really nice way. So here's a question from Oz Arazi: Why aren't you cutting on dry hair? Why not dry hair? Do you razor dry hair?
I do razor dry
Yeah.
hair.
Okay, so why did you choose wet today?
It kind of depends on the texture. Her texture is pretty heavily bleached right now, and so
Yeah,
So-
girl.
Yeah.
so working on that bleached of hair dry with a razor
Yeah.
would be like you'd be
Yeah, it's
really
pretty
have
rough. It can hurt, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
A lot
you
of
have
times
to-
people have an experience with a razor where it actually hurts, and then they're always like, I don't want another
I don't-
razor cut.
exactly.
Yeah. So, great question from Frank Mussolino, one of our diehard followers and great friend of ours. He says, what's your philosophy? Should people really still master the scissor first, or do you think that they can start off with razor cutting?
I think it's not necessarily a difference between scissors versus razors. it's understanding what the hair does when you hold it in an area or you over direct it. So understanding what graduation, over direction, layering is. If you understand those elements, then you can use kind of whatever. You use clippers, you can use...
I think the conventional wisdom is it's easier to learn those things with the scissor because they're so much more black and white.
And you're not wielding a razor around.
Yeah, dangerously.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that. You're working because, again, sometimes people can't see the exact detail and they ask, is there a guard? Is there not a guard?
Right.
So I can say without a doubt, there is not a guard on that razor.
No.
That's a feather plie. It comes unguarded. It does come with a little plastic shield that you can slide over for your protection. Called safe razor cutting, but most people kind of take that off pretty quickly so they can work with the power of the blade. So how do you keep yourself safe?
Well, I tend to when I'm sectioning out hair or manipulating it around, and I'm not cutting, I close the blade. That's usually my kind of first level of safety. So
I notice you also lock the blade with your pointer finger. I think that helps a lot.
Yep.
When you're combing, you can see he's got his pointer finger wrapped around the shaft of the razor, and it pulls it back out of the way. I think that's one of those unconscious things that some of us have developed.
The first time, when I was learning, there was a tendency to put your thumb right onto the blade.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Yeah.
Before you grab this section, let's just see how you're holding the blade.
Hi from Armenia. That's a first. Majorly international today. Great. And then, is there any particular angle that you hold the blade at? Do you think about the engagement of the blade in the hair?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of that is kind of from Wes's teachings with me. There's, a lot of people tend to be scared to use razor based upon not wanting to hurt the hair or rough up the texture. But you can find the right angle on the blade, you can use it on nearly any texture and not do damage to the hair.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah. And I think, let's give Wes a little cameo there. Wes is here. Say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. Are you proud of this guy?
I know.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been sharing a lot of your magic with him?
You should see the last makeover.
Yeah,
really
I'm sure we'll be seeing it soon. That's
really,
one thing about Hair Story Studio. These guys are really creating so much wonderful content, every day. And, as we always say, in the modern world of marketing and hairdressing and promoting, it's all about content, content, content. And I have to say, I think these guys do an incredible job of, putting out beautiful imagery that's also real, finding great girls like Kelly here that want to have makeovers that people can identify with, and I think that's incredible. All right, so let's get back into the haircut now. How are things developing, Bo?
Pretty good. I think we've got most of the sides and back kind of dialed in.
So again, I think at this point it's great to see. I love that he's got this image here. This was the look that Kelly is going for. It's a big change if you look on the floor here. We've got a little poodle building up in the corner here. So it's cut off about 10, 15 inches of hair. And you made pretty short work of that underneath. Do you feel like you're just really in tune with the hair?
I tend to move fairly quickly, especially working with a razor through the hair. There's definitely, once the hair's dried, some detailing that'll come into place. So, it tends to be a rather...
Hello, Mark. Thank you for being here.
Who's that?
He just bought a scissor.
Oh, right on. Thanks, buddy. Keeps the lubrication that keeps the machine turning. All right, we've been to Ireland.
Yeah.
Had a great time there. Visited the Jameson factory and the Guinness factory. Great. So now you're doing a little pinching around the edges.
Yeah,
and
just
kind of
bringing this length up a bit, a little bit more strength to it.
So you kind of worked it, you collapsed it, you kept extra length around the bottom, and then you're kind of free forming it in?
Right, so I often, when I'm going this short on a girl, if you leave that extra length, it gives you some room to play. And what I was looking at, which you probably didn't catch, is I was looking at her profile and this length, how that affected the profile and
Let's check it
the
out.
jawline. So
What did you see? What
so
you
this,
wanted to...
so if you this length here was a bit too much, and it kind of flattens out
Right.
the shape. So by nipping that up just a touch,
Brought out the curvature.
exactly.
Yeah, looking great. So lots of great positive comments coming in, looking great. Aaron Johnson looks
Hey,
killer so
Aaron.
far. Stoked to finally see Bo work. Yeah,
Hey,
and
Aaron.
hopefully we're going to see Bo again in Dallas.
Yeah.
Live. That'll be fun. Cause so you're in Dallas. You're based in Dallas. What are you doing here in New York this week?
I'm hanging out with the guys here at the studio.
Hair Story Studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How often do you do that during the year?
I'm here at least 4, maybe 5 times.
And what
5
do
or
you
6
do
times.
while you're here?
A little bit of sales meetings, a little bit of hanging out and cutting hair with Michael. You know, this place is pretty magical. It gives you a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
So
Nirvana for
yeah,
hairdressers,
it's,
right? That's
It's
what I
nice.
always say.
It's nice to get here.
Yeah, we always get people saying, "Can you take me in? Can I get in there?"
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you work in the salon then, and you retail Hair Story Studio product.
Yes. Yeah.
And
So
how's that work for you?
So I use Hair Story products exclusively with my clients.
So 4 products is enough for you.
That's it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Kind of simplifies the process for me as a hairdresser, and it simplifies the process for a client when they can
Yeah.
achieve nearly any look that they would want to with 4 products.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. You know, I mean, I'm sure that in the past you've worked with lines that maybe have 40 or 50 products, or who knows. And what's it like to switch to a line exclusively that only has 4 products?
You know, it was scary at first, for sure. And now it's kind of liberating. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean, when you're staring at a wall of 40 different products, you don't really typically know what half of them do.
Right, let's talk about this a bit because you're
Sure.
now moving, you're making a transition, so you collapsed it,
Yep.
you left stuff around the edges, you kind of chiseled it away.
Sure.
Now you're moving above the round of the head.
So
What
above it
are you
around,
doing?
so this, I'm just dropping a section down. There's a bit of a guide underneath here. It's tough to see, but you can feel.
You know what I like when I think about razor cutting? I think of it as a reference rather than a
Yes,
guide.
exactly.
Because you don't really have to like line them up like bricks.
Exactly.
You just have to decide if you want to refer to it or not.
Exactly. So what I'm doing right now is I drop that section down. It's quite heavy. It's just pretty thick hair, very fine, but tons of it. So I dropped that section down, and I was just going in and removing some weight first, and now I can feel or see that reference. And now I'm going to take the actual length off.
So
to
you're
connect
literally
it.
going in first and, for lack of a better word, texturizing or removing weight.
Correct.
And then you're dealing with the length.
Exactly.
It kind of liberates the texture when you do that, yeah?
Yes.
You're kind of putting the space in and then going through, and it just frees it up. It's
Yep.
like a layering within a layering, yeah. Okay, so again, guys, we'd love to hear your questions. Trying to monitor as much. I mean, mostly it's just people saying how great it looks and that they're from all over the world. I mean, it's such an international. We've got Rome, we've got St. Louis, we've got Atlanta, Massachusetts, New Zealand. I think that you Kelly Bollinger says hello.
Oh, that's my sister.
Your sisters, yeah, your
The
whole
whole-
family.
the whole crew's there.
Yeah.
Hi, Kelly. Love you.
And
It's a family affair.
you're gonna work all the way across the top this way, or do you
Yeah,
kinda
I
stop?
mean, I'm gonna get to a point where the hair's not gonna reach.
And then you'll switch
I'll
over?
Switch over the other
Yeah.
side. Correct.
And so the sections are kind of going diagonally, and
Yeah.
then they'll go a little bit on a bias, kind of
Exactly.
crisscrossing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a nice way to get it to work with that diagonal concept again.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're dividing up a sphere, and those diagonals work with the contour of the head.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just get a shot of that section.
How long do you book in the salon for an appointment?
Oh, so new clients get a bit of extra time, but I work with a really incredible assistant. Where's she at? Oh, she's right behind you. That's Carissa. She's
Hey.
my assistant. And so we book on the half hour actually.
Sweet.
She does all of my washing and styling, but
And how's business?
that's pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You keeping
it's
busy,
busy,
growing, you making a good living?
Yeah, I think we saw, what, 18 clients last week on Tuesday.
On one day.
Yeah,
Awesome.
on one
What do you
day.
charge for a haircut?
The men's rates are 100 and my women's rates are 150.
Oh my
Good
God,
for you.
on a
So you're a
Tuesday.
six figure a year hairdresser. You're making over $100,000 comfortably.
Absolutely.
That's great. You're a great role model because, you know, we hear this all the time. So many people come into this industry and they don't make it, you know?
Right.
How did you get there? Did you start off as a $100 hair cutter?
No
How
way.
did you get there?
No,
This
man.
is a great story.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. Right
Start
here.
out doing $35 haircuts in Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah.
And you know, there's really no magic, you know, equation to it. I had a guy reach out to me on Facebook the other day, and he was kind of asking that same question. And you know, the recipe is just work really, really hard.
Right.
Set small goals, reach them. Set the next goal, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I've been saying for years, I think in all 50 states in this country, a really talented hairdresser who has an aesthetic and a point of view should be able to earn six figures.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I don't think that charging $100 for a haircut is out of the realm of possibility anywhere, because every state I've been to, there are women and men who wear jeans that cost $100,
Or
and they buy them in
Yeah.
Macy's.
yeah, or
You know?
people who go out for dinner
And
3
drop.
or 4 times a weekend,
Absolutely.
or bar tabs. That,
Yeah, but
yeah.
so what are you offering? What makes you worth it? I mean, so you do, obviously you've got a great eye, you're doing great work here, and we'll get back to the technique, but
Sure.
what are you doing? What's the experience that you're creating that people are willing to pay $100?
You know, I think the experience that might be a bit different is how I get to know my clients and take a haircut rather than just being, oh, you know, we're going to do this haircut or that haircut on you. We try to find out who that person is, and
It's a personal connection. You're building a relationship and creating value.
yeah, I mean, I have this client in Dallas. Her name's Christy, and she gave me probably the best compliment I'd ever had as a hairdresser. And she simply just said that she felt more like herself after I cut all of her hair off than
Right.
she ever had before.
So you're feeling like yourself, Kelly?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're looking great.
Thank
You're
you.
looking great. It's too bad my wife's already behind the camera. Yeah. So what can you do, right? What can you do? This is looking fabulous. Big changes happening here. If you've just joined us, he's cut, Bo's cut off probably 10 inches of hair. Then he razored through the sides and the back and the top. And I think you're going to get into the front now, right?
Yeah,
Are you going to do
absolutely.
something as fun and dramatic as the image?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, with those big beautiful eyes, this
Yeah.
is going to be great.
Yeah.
So this is great. We keep referring back to this image here. Does anybody know the history? Is this a Hair Stories image, or
Oh, Saskia de Brow.
say again?
Saskia de Brow?
Say that 5 times fast. Yeah. Saskia de Brow.
Yeah.
Right on. Awesome. So tell us about the approach to get the fringe or the bang in there. Do you call it a fringe or a bang?
Probably both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
guess
know what I
it
always
depends.
say? When it's a bang, you'll know it.
Yeah, there you,
You
go.
know, it's
Yeah,
like-
yeah, yeah.
There's no question. This is a bang.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No messing around there. So, I don't know. I tend to not be super technical, Gerard. I mean, my sections aren't crazy technical. My approach isn't super technical. I think it's a lot more about, you know, what the eye sees. So
So you feel that you're more of an organic hairdresser?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing is, like I touched on before, you have to have an understanding of what the hair is going to do when you cut it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow this paint by numbers type of haircutting,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So you're more just letting the hair react and then taking away pieces. You're not going in so much with a blueprint or a set technique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like in this area, I noticed when I combed that it jumps, right? And with a razor,
Let's get a look at that.
yeah, right here. So with a razor, if you can't really adjust tension too much, right? You have to have enough tension on the hair to be able to
Yeah.
cut it. So actually, I have to like leave
gotta
that.
pull it
I gotta
to cut it.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
pull it to cut it. So I have to leave that length a little bit longer, knowing that it's gonna jump up on me a bit.
And then do you imagine that as it dries off, then you can kind of play with it,
Refine
maybe
it,
switch
yeah.
to the scissor,
Well, sure.
or if
Exactly.
you like some dry razor cutting.
Exactly.
Yeah, yep. So here's a great one. Ashley Lynn. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm a baby in the industry, 7 months, and my haircuts are $15. So I think to think that I could possibly get to 100 is crazy. Congrats for you, Bo.
Oh, thanks.
Well, Ashley, I think it's really important you do all the right things. You become the best hairdresser you can be. You get an aesthetic and an image, and you surround yourself with great mentors. And you can definitely be a $100 hair cutter. I believe that in any state in this country.
Absolutely.
It might not be exactly in your zip code. You might have to drive 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour to find the salon, but it's going to be there. And if you're really, really determined, you can do it. And I speak from experience. All right, so back to the technique. Look at that.
Wow.
Looks great. Great. You really just made such simple, short work of this, you know? You just got in there and just chiseled it down. How long have you been working with the razor?
Actually, why not? Maybe 5 years tops.
5 years, yeah. So you definitely spent a good 10 years focused on scissor cutting before you...
Well, you know, really what it was is realizing that I was cutting hair, I was kind of getting bored, and the imagery that I was looking at when I was seeing stuff that I really liked, I realized that most of it was cut with a razor. So I thought, well, apparently I need to learn how to cut with a razor.
Yeah.
So
I have a pretty similar story. You know, I did my apprenticeship at Sassoon in the early 90s, and we used to have to put together like a lookbook, like what you see here on the wall.
yeah,
Kel, can you show that stuff on the wall there? Yeah, and I remember getting in trouble because they said, you know, all this stuff is great, but none of it looks very Sassoon. It all looks like razor cuts. And I was like, okay. But then I just, I wanted to be part of what they were doing, so I just kind of pushed that down within me. And I did it for 10 years, and it was the best, time of my life. But as soon as I left Sassoon, I went right back to my aesthetic.
yeah.
And I started razor cutting ever since.
Well, I learned a lot about razor cutting from watching YouTube videos of you.
Was I actually cutting hair in those videos?
Yeah, you
Or-
were.
yeah.
You were. It was back, I think you were doing like some old Aveda stuff.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
motivated stuff.
Yeah.
We were the original, viral marketers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Randy, that's how we started Hairbrained.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Just like this, I'd be doing a demo and he'd get in there with the camera and people would be asking me questions and we just kept doing it. All right, well, enough about me. There was a great question here before. I thought this was a good one. Ashley Fragioso. Best
Hi,
advice to build up your clientele and to get referrals. What do you got for that, Mr. 18 clients in a day?
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday?
How
How did you build yours? How did you build your clientele?
Well, I think part of it is putting, especially now, right? Because everything's digital. You have basically a portfolio online. And for me, it was about trying to not only just build a clientele, but build a clientele the type of hair I wanted to do. So when I didn't have clients, I would go out and I would find somebody that inspired me and would say, hey, I want to cut your hair. And I would photograph it and put it out there. And we start to generate this, not only more clientele, but you end up getting the type of clientele you want.
Well, you were creating walking billboards.
Right. I mean, the worst case scenario if you go out and give somebody a free haircut and you get a photo out of it is that you get to experiment and you get an image out of it.
So
right?
do you, still to this day, is that part of your marketing? You still
Absolutely.
go out, you try to find, you call them house models, that's what we always call
Absolutely.
them.
A lot of, if you look at my Instagram, a lot of it is mostly people that I just bring in and I cut.
Right.
And
All right, cool.
photograph. Yeah.
Amazing. So the haircut's looking fantastic. Kelly, how do you feel?
I love it. It's so light.
You look
Oh.
amazing. All right, so what happens now? We're going to the product stage?
Yeah, we're gonna start.
So what are you using?
This is Hairbone. This is kind of a wash and wear, heavy moisturizing. It's gonna kind of dirty up the hair a little bit. I'm gonna use a little much and kind of create some texture. And we're just gonna softly dry it with our hands.
So does it have a hold or is it just more of like
It's a light hold.
Yeah,
This is
a light hold.
This is my go-to product for my hair. It's a light hold, wash and wear. Great product.
Do you do a lot of like just natural hand drying or
I do.
you
Yeah.
know? Do you do a lot of short hair or do you do it in Dallas? People think,
Surprisingly, yes. A lot of short hair. And Carissa knows that if it's too done on the blow dryer, then we're gonna just kind of douse it down with some texture spray and undo it. So, yeah, a lot of hand drying, a lot of rough drying.
Mm-hmm.
I want my clients to feel like they can very easily duplicate what we send them out looking like, but also feel really confident in that look.
I have a story that relates to that. I have a story that relates to everything. But when I left Sassoon, I started working with lots of different hairdressers. And I worked with these two brothers from Italy that were good hair cutters, but amazing hairdressers. And we were in Atlanta at the time, and they would do these amazing blow dries, and everyone would leave there going, "Oh my God, my hair's never been this amazing."
Sure.
They had the most amount of redos of any hairdresser I ever worked with, because the clients would go home and then it never looked as good again.
Right.
So they always thought like, "Oh, maybe the haircut really wasn't that good." So and I was like the art director for them, and I had to be like, "Guys, try to maybe style it a little bit less."
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then you can kind of see what's going on in there. too.
Yeah, and because they never did any cutting afterwards, because they dried everything which was beautiful,
Right.
but they never refined their haircut, and they also never got the client involved in the styling. It was like this masterpiece, like if they went to touch it, they'd like slap their hands.
Yeah. My approach is usually to as minimal as possible, so that the client is like, "Oh, that's all you did? Whole product?"
We've made lazy creative.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But when you do work really naturally, the product becomes even more important.
Absolutely.
So this hair balm for you is going to be a huge part of
my
this
jam.
look.
My
Yeah.
jam, for sure.
Yeah. And now, how would you explain it to Kelly? How would you teach her to style?
I would
it?
expect
She's- It's a big change for her.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's got to learn right now, right?
So I would expect Kelly, honestly, to get out of the shower, towel dry her hair, throw some of this product in, and walk out the door.
right.
If we weren't gonna do some dry cutting, I'd probably just let this totally air dry,
Yeah.
or maybe even pop it under a dryer.
I still love to do that. Use
Yeah.
the heat lamps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We do that in the salon
Sometimes it's even just better than the airflow, and then
Yep.
you can just shake it up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, just doing some natural drying now for those of you that are just joining us. This is Bull Bollinger. I'm Gerard from Hairbrained. We're here at the Hair Story Studio, which is, as I always say, it's probably the 20th time I've said it. It's hairdressing nirvana, because it's a place. Just look around. All these people here, they're all hairdressers and kind of people that work in the brand, doing creative things, creating content, and they're doing this every day. It's a really, I think, influential movement in our industry. To create great content and kind of put the power back in the hands of the hairdresser. Bo's a Hair Story Studio coach.
Yeah.
Is that the terminology?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
So, if you come on board and you're using our products, my goal my goal is to basically help grow your business, to help encourage you, educate you, introduce the product to clients, and just kind of be a mini support system for your career.
So literally, do you have like a territory where you go and help, hairdressers kind of get the product?
We're not really territory. I mean, I talk to hairdressers all over the country, East Coast,
Well, you can
West
talk
Coast.
to them all over the world if you go back
Yeah,
through this feed,
absolutely.
because they're from everywhere. Yep. Yep. So lots of, just lots of love here. People are so happy that you look incredible. And of course, the tattoo came up.
Oh, of course.
So
Yes.
Sherry, no, wait, who was it? Joel, Adrian, Vito says great hair and awesome tattoo.
Thank you.
It is an amazing tattoo. Photographs very well.
Rocks,
Yeah.
ROXX.
That's your
on
artist?
Instagram.
Yeah. And she's in
Check it out.
Dallas or
She's in LA.
in LA? Awesome, awesome. Cool. So now as you start to dry the hair, you're just using your fingers to twist it in, create some texture. Are you thinking about your final
Yeah.
approach, what you
Yeah.
want to do?
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at the shape and see if there's anything that I would alter in the shape, whether maybe I take it in tighter here or
Thank you,
tighter,
Joyce.
just removing weight, and definitely around the face, probably strengthening that up a bit.
You look stunning. That's what Joyce Helm
Aw,
says.
thank
You
you.
look stunning. So is anything jumping out at you, like, at this stage as you're looking like, oh, I want to change this, or, this needs some tweaking?
The fringe,
Yeah.
for sure. I'm gonna strengthen that just a bit.
Yeah. So you were kind of cautious with it because
Yeah.
of the cowlick and the hairline.
Exactly.
Are you going to come in and do a bit more?
We all do, baby. That's okay.
We all do. We got thanks from Germany. Love it. Now do some fun color.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is pretty pretty. I like it though.
Thank you.
This is pretty. Have you done anything? Have you always been blonde or?
No, I usually go back to blonde, but I've had orange hair, pink hair,
Yeah.
red hair, all there.
We'll have to get you in here with Roxy and the team, right? Yeah. Well, the color's already great. Yeah, she has. This looks good already
It's
to me.
awesome.
Yeah. James Moloff. I think this is amazing and very helpful, especially for an aspiring male stylist like myself who went to school but never had a chance to get started. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's what we're all about here. Just sharing, spreading the message, and sharing great work. All right, so kind of finishing up the blow dry, thinking about your next stages. Will you continue to use the razor, or will you switch back to the
Christina
scissor?
has a question.
Christina has a question. Where is it? There's a lot of stuff. Let's see. Christine Rowling, how do you decide when you're going to use your razor instead of scissors? Is it the result that you want or the texture of the hair?
Probably both. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
take into consideration what the texture of the hair is. Can it handle a razor? And then not only can it handle a razor, but can it handle really opening up the razor cut and flat, on the flats of the blade and getting a lot of texture in there, or does it have to be very neat so you don't break it up? I think there's no right or wrong answer there.
Yeah, I think
It's a
everyone's
tough
always
one.
looking for this perfect
Like,
formula, but there
I've,
isn't one.
I've
Yeah.
noticed that on the razor cuts for sure, that people kind of like
They
win
want the
to-
perfect
yeah,
answer.
and it's
If
just
the
not-
hair is the diameter of 18.6
Right.
and the moon is in the second house, then thou shalt razor.
Right.
But the truth is, it's a feeling. And, here's the thing. If you start using the razor and you don't like what it's doing,
Then
put it down and
put it
pick up
down.
the scissor.
Yeah,
That's what we always say.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
you can't always predict.
No.
Obviously a lot of people say they don't razor curly hair. They're afraid to razor curly hair. Do you use a razor on curly hair?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do as well. And again, for me, it's about the rotation and the engagement of the blade.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's get back into what you're doing technically now. So switching to the scissors to define some of the edges.
Yep. I'm just kind of cutting through this pretty blunt, which is a nice play on her hair up against the razor texture. So a little emphasis on the front here by cutting it a little more blunt.
I notice you kind of move the hair around a lot, so you're kind of doing the opposite of putting it into one position.
Yeah, again, kind of with the emphasis on her wearing it. Like I want to move it around and see what it's going to do, and cut it there rather than force it into an area, cut it, and then deal with the result of that cut.
Right on. Looking fabulous. I mean, just so much great support coming in. We love that. That's what it's all about. Hairdressers supporting each other, sharing information, and working with like-minded people. And again, that's what we love about Hair Story Studio. They've brought a refreshingly simple concept to our industry. Michael has kind of pioneered this idea that you don't need 50 products. It works, for some of us to just have 4 products. And you're saying it works great for you.
It works great.
Yeah.
Deal with, all hair types. I work with long, short, young, old, and I only use New Wash when I do that.
And in terms of, how are you doing it? Are you actually stocking your salon with it, or are you sending people to the internet to buy it?
Both. It's kind of a transition. It's if you want me to
Hold
point
on
out
one
here.
second.
So there's
I just gotta find my spot.
okay.
Yeah.
There's just a band of weight here that I'm seeing.
Let me just grab that real quick.
So if you look at the head shape, I'm just kind of seeing some weight right through here. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to kind of dissolve some
I
of
got
that
it.
real quick.
I think it's best if I'm over here.
I'm going to be here.
So you're using the scissor in a different way. I
Right.
call that slicing. Do you have a name for it?
I don't have a
Channeling?
name for it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think, the Tony and Guy world, they call it channeling. The Sassoon world, they call it slicing. But in Bo's world, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Doing this?
Just doing this.
Whittling. I'm whittling.
Yeah. So this will kind of match that razor texture in the hair and just dissolve a little bit of that weight that I was seeing there.
Yeah, so totally visual now. Maybe that has a
Oh,
little bit to do with
yep.
it's darker in the nape, so
Yep.
it was kind of swelling out a little bit more.
Well, and I think sometimes when we work around the ear there, especially the razor, it can be a bit awkward to get the shape you want without feeling like you might cut somebody. So sometimes it's a little heavy there.
What's your take on scissors? Do you like a larger, it looks like what, maybe a 6-inch scissor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then long hair, I have quite a bit longer blade that
Yeah.
I tend to work with. Yep.
All right, let's see if we've got any more great questions coming in. If anybody has any questions for Bo as he's finishing up here, let us know.
How are you feeling?
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
great.
different.
makeover.
Woohoo.
All right. I think I have an interrupted broadcast. Are you still going? Still? All right. Great. Just my connection. All right. So now working into the top. What's happening here?
Just taking a bit more weight out as well.
Cool.
This top hair.
Well, how many scissors would you say you own?
6, somewhere around there. This is my workworkhorse.
What is
So-
it?
Yes,
What are you
Ashley.
using?
We're gonna do this slicey thing slower.
Okay.
And slow it down.
Okay.
Let me just get a good spot here. 1 second.
So you're kind of opening the scissor and
Yep.
pushing it through and closing it when you pass.
Exactly.
Pass
So it's
the
not
end.
really I'm not dragging this shear through there. I'm actually closing
Yeah.
the shear as I go through.
So it's just closing as you go through.
yeah.
And how do you keep from taking chunks out? Is the question. It's because you're not closing it in the hair.
Yes.
You're kind of, if this is the hair and this is the scissor, it grazes
1
in
second,
and it
Bo.
closes out here.
1 second.
See how it closes out in the air? Once it kind of flattens the weight out, it closes in the air past the hair. It's almost like working with a chisel and like chiseling the surface of the hair down a little bit. So brave having a massive change and you look amazing. I love this guy. Thanks for not making me feel like it's okay to not have a name or everything. I do like your slicing. Just do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I think one of the classes or moments that I had with Wes was just do it. It was like just do it. Intentional.
I mean, at a certain stage, you know, if you've gone
Yeah.
through some fundamentals and the craft has been instilled in you, then you have to just go for it, don't you? Because
Absolutely.
if you're always overthinking, then it looks like you've been overthinking. You know, that's kind of what happens to hair. If it's too planned and too articulated, it kind of looks that way.
Yep.
And I've never met anyone come in and say, I want to look really planned and organized today. Yeah, it's like, you know.
Absolutely.
Great. Looking awesome. Look at you.
But just 1 second here. Can you just go over you mentioned earlier there was a weight line, and what was the action that you took to get rid of the weight line that you saw?
Yeah, so I saw a bit of bulk in this corner here, and it could have been length, or it just could have been the consistency of my razor. Like I may have been more blunt with it, so I just removed that bulk to bring that shape in there behind
Yeah,
it.
it just hugs in nicely. Could be the color or the shape
Yeah,
of the head.
absolutely.
There's the mastoid bone here as
Yeah.
well. That happens a lot. Great. So you feeling good?
Yeah.
You look awesome. Let's take this
Thank you.
cape off you and see. Woohoo! What do you guys think? Yeah. Give her some love.
Yes.
All right, so you're coming in to do some finishing touches. What are you switching to now, product-wise?
So this is undressed. This is our texture spray, and I tend to finish almost all of my clients with this. You can't overuse it, and this is where we'll really start to see kind of this
So
texture.
it's called undressed and it's a texture spray. Is
Correct.
that it's like similar to like a salt type spray?
no,
Or?
no salt in
There's
it,
no salt in it.
but you're gonna get that type of texture that you want out of a salt spray without the hair feeling dry or crunchy.
Yeah, I have to admit,
Or-
I'm one of the people that never liked salt sprays.
Well-
I like them for a minute,
Yeah.
and then 5 minutes later, I don't like them because of that gritty, kind of dull kind of quality in the hair. So I was excited to try this.
And especially your blondies when they have a lot of processing done and they put the salt spray on there, it feels pretty rough.
Yeah,
So
looking awesome. You can tell she's loving it, which is great. I love these little details, you know, that you get with the razor where the hair can go in different directions while you're finishing it. You know, it's just not so directional, is it? You can just kind of push it around and see what happens. It'll change a little bit every day too, won't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So there's space for the hair to live in. Awesome. I like how that's bringing out a little bit of wave in her hair too. Fabulous. All right. Any final words to say to your viewers all over the world, Bo?
Oh man, I think that was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This
man, it's a
was
pleasure. Pleasure to be with you. We love this guy. His work's incredible. You can follow him all over the place. Look for Bo Bollinger, Hair Story Studio, and of course
Can't get over your
Hairbrained.
hair, huh?
Hey, we'll be back again later this week for Hairbrained Live number 30 with Stephen Moody by popular demand. Everybody loves Stephen, so we're going to be with Stephen on Friday. But we're finishing up here. Let's have one final look. Thanks, guys. Peace.